Let's begin standing on your mat. Inhale, reach those arms up, overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Half lift, forward fold, and stand all the way back up, arms overhead. Dive it forward, forward fold, half lift, forward fold again. Stepping back into plank, shifting your weight forward, chaturanga, upward facing dog, pressing back into downward facing dog, coming back into plank, that right knee comes into your chest, and kick it back for 1. In, kick back for 2. In, kick back. In, kick back. Now bring your knee into your chest and step it through those hands. Lifting up, high lunge. Bringing those hands to your knee, step that left foot in and back. In and back. 2 more. And back. In and back, holding it here. Arms overhead, hands to the mat, step back plank, downward facing dog. Plank, shift forward chaturanga, upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Plank, left knee in, kick back, in, kick back, in, kick back, in, kick back. Bring your knee into your chest, step through those hands. Lift up, high lunge, hands to your knee, step that right foot in and back. In and back. 2 more, building heat in the body here to prepare for stretching. Holding that high lunge, arms overhead, hands to the mat, step back plank. Bending those knees, hop through your hands, and forward fold, half lift, forward fold. Breathe, inhale, and exhale, rolling all the way up. Arms reach overhead, diving forward, forward fold, half lift, forward fold, and hop back into plank. Holding here, press forward, lower down, chaturanga, upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Pressing those heels back, right leg lifts up, bending your knee, step through those hands, lift up into high lunge. Hands to heart, you're going to step that left foot in and press it back, arms overhead. In, arms reach up. In, arms reach up. In, arms reach up. In and hold, keeping the weight on the right foot. You're going to press back into Warrior 3. Hands at your heart. Pressing back and holding it here for a moment. Hold and breathe. Lifting up, bending that knee in, don't let the foot touch. Hold. Now press back into your high lunge. Arms back overhead. Holding it here. Hands to the mat. Press back into pyramid. If you need to shift that back foot in slightly, feel free to do so. Keeping that right leg long. Bending your knee. Dropping that left knee, release the toes. Extending that right knee, foot flexed, press back. Right hip pulls back, left hip presses forward. Keeping that alignment. Feeling a nice stretch in your hips here. And lift forward and press back. Hips forward, press back. Hips forward, press back. And again. Holding it here. Pressing forward, tuck the left toes, lift up, high lunge. Hold. Palms to heart, twisting left elbow to that right knee. Palms pressed together in prayer. Left leg stays long. You can either look up towards the ceiling or down to your mat, whichever feels right for you. Extending that right leg, extending both arms. Bringing those hands back to prayer, untwist the body, facing front. Right leg extends, folding from your hips, bringing your chest down over the front leg. Hands to the mat if you can, and holding it here. Now stepping that left hand to the outside of your right foot. Right arm extends up, nice and long. You can either look down at your mat, or you can look up at those fingertips. Looking up is significantly harder to balance, so do whatever feels right for you. Make sure you're breathing. Inhale and exhale. Bending that front knee, hands to either side of your knee and step back into plank. Chaturanga, upward facing dog. Downward facing dog, pressing those heels down. Left leg lifts up. Stepping it through those hands. And lift up into your high lunge. Palms in prayer at your heart. Right foot steps in, press back, arms reach up. In, press back, arms reach. Again, arms reach. Stepping in and up. Step in and hold. Balance. You're going to press back into warrior 3 with that right leg extending nice and long. Palms stay in prayer position, holding and breathing. And lift that knee up to your chest. Don't touch that foot to the mat. And reach it all the way behind you to the back of your mat, stepping into your high lunge. Arms reach up. Holding it here for a moment. Sinking those hips low. Palms back to prayer. Twisting, bringing that right elbow to your left knee. Keeping those palms pressed together. Taking a deep breath, inhale, exhale and twist. You can bring that back foot in slightly, extending that left leg long. Forward fold from those hips down over that front leg. Release your hands to your mat. Walking that right hand to the outside of that left foot. Left arm extends. Looking down at your mat or up to your fingertips. Hands to the mat, extending your left leg long. Keeping that back as flat as possible. Hold and breathe. Inhale, exhale, bending that knee, dropping the right knee down and release the toes. Extend the left leg long, flex your foot. Feeling a nice stretch in the back of that leg. Bending your knee and press back, toes lift. Forward, press back with those hips. Forward, press back. Forward, press back. Holding it here. Left hip pulls back, Right hip pushes forward. Bending that knee, tuck the right toes, lift up, and stepping back into plank. Bending your knee slightly, hop through those fingertips. Extend the legs, forward fold. You can reach for the back of your ankles here, if that feels good. Keeping those hips and those feet in alignment. You can nod your head up and down to release your neck, moving it side to side, whatever feels good. We hold a lot of tension in our neck. It's important to release it. Enjoy this. Breathe through it. Slowly rolling all the way up, lifting those arms overhead, and dive back forward. Half lift, forward fold, hopping back to plank. Breathe. Nice neutral spine. Press back, downward facing dog. Right leg lifts right away. Bending your knee. Stepping all the way through that right knee to your right thumb. Pigeon pose. Trying to get both hips down to the mat. You can reach back for that left foot, bringing your heel in towards your glute, if that feels good, or just leave that left leg extended long. Holding it here, pressing those hips down. Another variation is you can lean over that right leg, pressing your chest all the way down. Forehead rests on top of those arms, and lift up. Stepping into plank, downward facing dog, left leg lifts, bending the knee, bringing that knee all the way through your hands, left knee to left thumb, pigeon pose on the other side. Same variations, you can reach back for that right leg if you'd like. Listen to your body, do what feels right for you. Breathing and holding. Releasing that leg if it's lifted. Coming back center. And release your upper body down over that left leg. Forehead to the tops of those arms. Inhale. Exhale, sinking those hips a little bit lower. Pressing up. Tucking the right toes and step back into plank. Downward facing dog. Bending those knees, hop through those hands and forward fold. Extending long. Roll all the way up. Lifting those arms up overhead. Palms together, arch that back slightly, releasing it, and diving it forward. Forward fold. Half lift again. Forward fold. We're holding it here for a moment. You can either reach for the backs of those ankles, or you can loop your two fingers around each big toe, drawing your chest closer to the tops of your legs, making sure you're folding from your hips, not your lower back. Each time you inhale, on your exhale, try and bring your chest a little bit closer without pulling. Just releasing through those muscles. Inhale, Exhale, release a little bit more. Hands to your mat. Forward fold, half lift. Forward fold, and stepping back into plank. Downward facing dog. Right leg lifts up. Bending that knee, opening up your hip. So trying to stack that right hip over left. Coming back center, stepping through your hands. Dropping that left knee this time, release the toes. Hands to your right knee, pressing those hips forward. Getting a nice stretch right here, it feels amazing. Inhale, exhale those hands to the mat. Press those hips back, flex your right toes. Right hip pulls back, left hip presses forward, keeping that alignment. Upper body releases down over top of that right leg. Deep breath. Exhale. Bending the right knee, pressing those hips back, flex the toes. Bending forward, press back. Preparing for splits here. Now, if it feels good for you, go ahead and extend that right leg long and left leg long in your split. If this does not feel good for you, if this is not within your practice, just stay in that same stretch with that right leg extended and left knee bent underneath your hip. If you can't quite reach the floor in your split, feel free to put a rolled up towel or a pillow underneath you to assist. You can release that upper body down over top of that right leg. One hand on either side of that leg. Inhaling, exhaling, lift back up. Trying to bring those hips a little bit closer to your mat. And you're going to walk your right foot in, left foot in, coming back into a kneeling position. Preparing for camel. Bringing your hands to the back of your hips, pressing your pelvis forward, and looking back all the way behind you if you can. Another variation is bringing your hands to the tops of those heels, pressing that pelvis forward, dropping your head back, looking up. Keep pressing your pelvis forward in this position. To come out of it, your hands come back to your lower back and lift up. Stepping back into plank position and downward facing dog. Left leg lifts up, bending your knee, opening that hip, left hip over right, coming back to the center and bringing that left foot through your hands. Dropping your right knee down or extending it long, whichever feels good for you. Lifting up with your hands on the top of that left knee. If your knee is lifted, drop it down at this time, pressing those hips forward. Getting a nice stretch in the front of that right hip. Hands to your mat. Pressing back, extending your left leg long. Foot is flexed. Reaching your upper body down over top of that left knee. Nice flat back. Inhaling and exhaling. Trying to get a little bit lower on each exhale. See if you can reach that forehead all the way down. Bending your left knee, pressing your hips back. Bending, press back, holding it here. Bend, tuck those right toes, and reaching that left leg out. Right leg back, extending into your split. Again, if this is not within your practice, feel free to stay in that previous stretch with your left leg long. Trying to get both hips on the floor. Inhale and exhale. You can extend that body down over top of your left leg. Breathe through this and just enjoy it. Feeling the length in those legs, toes reaching long. Lifting up. To come out of this, you're going to lift yourself up slightly, walking those back toes in, walking the left toes in, and coming back into your child's pose. Release your back for just a moment. Arms extend long. Forehead to the mat. Rolling through your spine, lift up, seated position. Coming to the front of your mat, trying to get one foot on either side of your mat here, so either corner. You're going to shift your hips forward slightly with a nice flat back. Exhale, reaching forward. Extending those arms out in front of you. Don't force this. It's very important that you have a nice flat back and you're working with your breath. Think about those muscles releasing in those inner thighs. On your exhale, see if you can bring it a little bit further to the floor. Breathing and holding. Lifting up slightly. Coming down just a little bit, bending those elbows and extend. Bending your elbows, extend, and walking it back out. See if you can go a little bit further this time. Every time you inhale, think about all that oxygen going into those muscles as they stretch and lengthen. Walking those hands back in, bringing your feet all the way in. Bottoms of your feet are together, dropping those knees out to the sides. Just relax here. Let those knees naturally fall without pressing on them. This is great for those hips. Crossing your feet in front of you. Inhale those arms up, palms together, exhale to heart. Inhale, lift up, palms together, exhale to your heart. This has been a great way to bring heat to your body and stretch. Enjoy the length in those muscles.